Let me tell you, if you'd ever asked me what rock bottom looked like, I'd have probably pointed to the morning my HOA president sent a demolition crew to tear down the oak fence my wife and I built together, all while I stood there half awake, coffee shaking in my hand, diesel fumes in the air, and nothing but that damn chainsaw screaming over my protests. And if that sounds like an exaggeration, trust me, I wish it was. The thing is, you can live through grief, outlast loneliness, and even endure the slow suffocation of suburban politics. But watching 15 years of memories get reduced to splinters because some entitled neighbor wants public lake access, that'll make your blood run cold. Only here's the kicker. The public path she insisted on ran straight from my yard to her private boat dock. You see where this is going? Let me back up a second because none of this started with that fence. I'm Garrett Whitman, 58, mostly retired, clinging to the little lakefront cabin my parents left me trying to survive after losing Sarah to cancer. That fence was the last project we did together. She was too weak to hammer, but she steadied every board insisted on it. She'd run her hands along the wood soft as you please and say, "Let's make something that stays, so part of us is here forever." That's the kind of permanence I thought I'd earned. I was wrong. Then Delilah Thornfield rolled into the neighborhood just oozing money attitude and that chilling real estate lawyer energy designer sunglasses sharper tongue the works. Her place across the street looked like a glass spaceship landed in the middle of regular folks' homes, but for all her square footage, she had no way to the water. I should have known she'd set her sights on mine. Wouldn't you know it, 2 months in, she gets herself elected HOA president. No one even ran against her, probably because they were scared or just didn't care. Next thing, we're buried in new rules. No RVs in driveways, gardens have to be under 18 inches. No Christmas lights after January 2nd. It was like living in a gated community run by prison wardens. Then came the letter official as a tax audit dripping with that sickly sweet bless your heart legalese. My fence, my wife's fence, was suddenly out of compliance, and if I didn't chop it down to 4 feet, it'd be a $500 fine every week. I called her up thinking maybe, just maybe, reason still had a seat at the table. All I got was grandfather clauses. "Don't matter anymore, sweetie. 30 days to comply or we start seizing assets. Have a blessed day." That's the first moment I felt the war had started. Next day, I catch Delilah peeking through her window with binoculars. No shame, just flat out staring at my dock. That's when I realized she didn't care about fences or regulations. She wanted my waterfront, period. 2 days later, I come home and see orange spray paint all over my property, Rosebush's mailbox, even Sarah's memorial bench. A note on the door said, "Surveying for compliance modifications. Work begins Monday." I could smell the diesel from their trucks before I even hit the porch. Now here's where you might laugh. Turns out I spent 30 years as a professional surveyor. She thought I was just another pushover widower, but she'd picked a fight with the one guy who actually knows where every inch of property in this town belongs. Monday hits and it's like a construction apocalypse. Delilah is out there bossing a crew around, sledgehammers, chainsaws, stone pavers going in where my fence had stood. At first I'm just watching the destruction, sick to my stomach, but then my old work brain kicks in. She's not just tearing things out, she's building something. Fancy walkway stone borders, landscape lights, at least 80 grand's worth of upgrades. I shout down, "What exactly are you building?" Delilah, smiling like a snake, calls back, "Public lake access, sweetie. Community property. Technically, this land was never yours anyway." She starts rattling off adverse possession laws, acting like if she used it long enough, it'd magically become hers. Now, I don't rattle easy, but that set my teeth on edge. So I did what I do best, research. I spent that night pulling every deed, tax bill, and plat map I could find. By sunrise, I had something beautiful. Turns out not only had I used every inch of that land for over 15 years, gardening, fence repairs, you name it, but also there were no permits for her public project. I called city planning, filed a formal complaint, and sat back with my coffee just as the inspector came by to slap a stop work order on every piece of her rented equipment. That should have been the end, right? Nope. Delilah calls an emergency HOA meeting to fine me $2,000 for obstructing community progress. Picture this: 8 neighbors, her cronies up front, me alone in back, and Mrs. Patterson, our octogenarian librarian, in the middle. Delilah starts her act, how I'm sabotaging the community, blocking progress. Mrs. Patterson pipes up. Reporting illegal construction is called citizenship. The room split, so I pull out my phone and play a recording of Delilah bragging about taking my land by adverse possession. That's illegal, she shrieks. Not in Michigan, I say, one-party consent. Suddenly the real show starts. Turns out Delilah's been her own lawyer, billing the HOA through a company she set up right after becoming president. The crowd goes from nervous to outright furious as I lay out the payments she's been siphoning money from the community for months, all under the guise of legal counsel and construction management. Mrs. Patterson lets loose. That's not just conflict of interest, that's fraud. Delilah's mask slips, but she's not done. She starts spreading rumors, tells people I'm losing my mind from grief, calls Adult Protective Services, puts a "for sale" sign in my yard, has realtors call with lowball offers, and hosts intervention meetings about my mental health crisis. Full psychological warfare. But what Delilah didn't know, Sarah taught me how to trace financial scams. While Delilah's turning neighbors against me, I'm building a case. I call in my old attorney Marcus, Janet, a PI friend, and David, a local news reporter with a nose for HOA drama. We pull Delilah's financials. She's not just a scammer here, but wanted for similar stunts in 3 other states, the real bombshell. The public pathway and dock she built, $85,000, all of it on land that's legally mine according to the original surveys and tax records. Under state law, every improvement she made is now my property. The cherry on top. Part of her own glass palace sits on land she doesn't own. We plan a showdown for the next HOA meeting, legal files, witnesses, news cameras, the works. But right before the big night, Delilah tries to get me arrested, filing false police reports about threats, even spoofs texts from my number. Cops show up, but I have proof, my phone's location, witnesses, everything. The detective assigned to investigate me winds up investigating her after seeing all our evidence. So we hit the meeting. Delilah still trying to run the show. But suddenly the place is crawling with neighbors, news crews, the county fraud division, and one very stern detective. It takes about 5 minutes before Winston, her own construction foreman, stands up and says he's got her on tape admitting to building on my land intentionally. Delilah melts down, accusing everyone of conspiracy. But then the detective steps forward, lays out all the evidence: embezzlement, elder abuse, wire fraud. The handcuffs go on, and Delilah turns out her real name's Donna Thompson, is carted out on federal charges. The neighborhood erupts in applause, half in shock, half in relief. And here's the final twist. 6 months later, Donna's in prison. Her mansion's auctioned off to pay restitution, and the HOA is run by Mrs. Patterson, who immediately kills every stupid rule Donna ever wrote. Now we've got RVs, wild gardens, holiday lights in March, and neighbors who actually talk to each other. My property value jumps by $180,000 thanks to all the improvements Delilah paid for. Even better, we start a scholarship in Sarah's name for students fighting fraud funded by FBI restitution money. So what's the moral here? If you're ever up against a bully with a fancy title and no sole document, everything trust your gut, and remember, a community that fights together is a force of nature. The woman who tried to steal my grief and my memories wound up building me the most expensive monument in town right before landing herself a spot on America's Most Wanted. Now that's justice with a side of poetic irony. What about you ever tangled with an HOA tyrant or neighbor from hell? Share your wildest stories down in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. You never know, your nightmare might help someone else spot a predator before it's too late. And hey, subscribe for more true tales of sweet ice-cold revenge, because sometimes the good guys really do win, and sometimes the best boundaries are set in stone.